Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, I'm going to do something different, still small art, but doing more of a project where you can display a photograph in a creative way. I'm just going to be using a print from Graphics Fairy. It's this Gypsy. It's in a vintage setup already. I just tore it around. So you can go to graphicsfairy.com for that, but you can use your own photograph if you'd like. I've got a piece of cardboard here cut roughly 4 by... That looks bigger than 4 by 6. Oh, and of course I don't have my ruler. There we go. Yeah, 4 by 6. I looked bigger than 4 by 6. It's actually 4 by 5.5. And I've got this chipboard cutout of a latch, and I think this is a Tim Holtz thing from a stash of random stuff I haven't touched in a while. I've got a cutout of a heart. I've got these little dots from here, which I'm going to use as well. A piece of cardboard that I tore apart to fit behind the print. And then thank you, Allison, for sending me these paper mache pieces. I'm going to actually cover everything, except her, with gesso. So I'm going to be taking my gesso, and this is now the second time I've used it with this new mixture I did, taking the Decor Media white gesso, this one, and I added some chalky gesso to thin it down a little bit instead of using water. So while I'm painting it, then I'll talk about the other supplies that I'm going to be using. Now, as with all the projects, I may use them, I may not, I don't know, because I let the piece talk to me. I'm thinking I'm going to use this stuff. So what I've got is I've got the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics, Phthalo Green Yellow, Hansa Yellow Light, oh my goodness, Raw Umber, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber, and Titanium White. Oh, and I've got Quinacridone Magenta, which I'm not sure if I'm going to use. Then I've got the DecoArt Extreme Sheen Metallic Paint Pewter, DecoArt Tradition Phthalo Blue, because I'm out of it in the fluid acrylics. The DecoArt Media Matte Medium, and then of course the gesso, and I think we're good. All right. So I'm painting this with the gesso because when you're working with like a cardboard like this, it sucks up the paint, and then what it does is it changes the color of the paint. So the gesso not only helps seal the cardboard, but it creates a tooth so paint can stick to it. And you can put this on as thick as you want or as thin as you want. What I like to do is when I do this, for this particular technique, I'm going to put on a little bit more. And you can see I'm not being very careful as to, you know, style, or I'm just slapping it on there. And then I'm going to take a sponge with a lot of holes in it, and I'm just going to not quite enough on there, but it's, yeah, it gives me still, it gives the effect of fresco, like, you know, when the houses that are textured. And I put a bit more on there, and you can do this as many times as you want. Just make sure that your sponge is slightly damp so it'll clean easily. There we go. And this is good if you're doing it in batches. So, you know, I've got this and I'll take this and I'll go to, let's say here, you know, and you're basically killing two birds with one stone. Let me do a little bit of the heart. Whoopsie. Because I'll put some transparent paint on that. And I'll just put as much here as I can, especially on the outside, to seal where the cardboard's all torn. I don't want to do too much more. So I'll use the leftover paint and I'll just go here. And let me move that aside. Move that aside. And then these little flowers. Because these flowers, yeah, I am going to use Quinacridone Magenta. If I were to put it straight onto this unsealed paper mache, the magenta would turn a real dull reddish color, because the boy, I'm having trouble talking today. The Quinacridone Magenta is the fluid acrylic, so it is thinner. Not thinner, it's more transparent. So I'm going to put quite a bit in this one here. And you can use a bristle brush for this as well. I'm going to have to really wash my hands after this because my fingers are getting covered. Make sure you get it all over it. I'm working on palette paper because it won't stick. So I'm just going to keep going on with this. And the next step after this is to actually paint everything. And you can choose whether or not you want to put 2 layers of gesso or just the one. I'm going to wait for it to dry to see if I need to apply another layer. If any of the brown really shows through, I'll apply another layer. These little dots, there we go. All right, I'll be back in a bit. All right, so it took about 45 minutes for everything to dry. And first thing I'm going to do now is move everything out of the way. I'm going to prepare the background. I'm going to prepare it with kind of a real subtle tone of a green. So I've got burnt umber, phthalo green yellow, and a bit of titanium white. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to turn out with what I'm going for. So I'm going to bring some white out here. Oh, oopsie. I already had green in there. And a little bit of burnt umber. I just want to really light, but I want it to have a definite green tint to it. Turns out it ends up being gray. And that's what I'm going for. Don't need a lot of this. Just want to get rid of the white. That's not too bad. It's still a bit bright. I'm going to put a bit more burnt umber in there. You could just use burnt umber with white, but it ends up, like I said, it ends up being more of a gray. Burnt umber and white don't look very nice. It's almost like a sage. Look at that. That's a bit too dark. Remember, acrylics dry darker. So I'll end up putting another layer on top of that. Let's go here. Now, if you find that this is another thing I did. If you find you're using fluid acrylics and you find that the titanium white is just too thin, what I've done is I've emptied out another bottle. And when the titanium white of the fluid acrylics got about halfway, I then topped up the rest with the DecoArt Traditions white. And all the DecoArt products are interchangeable. But I did that just to thicken it up a little bit. And that's this one here that I'm using. I love this color. Nice sage. Bring a bit more brown in there. And now I'm going to be thinking, I want it to be more green up here. Using phthalo green yellow can be quite intense. So just be careful. Yeah, that's actually not too bad. I don't want it to be too dark. So you can keep layering wet on wet with this as long as it doesn't dry. Yeah, like that. I'm just going to take leftover paint and kind of blend. This is going to be covered here. Bring some more white. I want this to be nice and bright here. This is where the cardboard is going to go, the focal point. So I'm going to make it nice and bright. Think of it being in thirds. I'm working in the lower right third for the focal point. And really, when you think about it, the way the whole piece is being done, it's going to kind of go from here to here. So like almost like a backwards S. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to take the leftover and I'm going to go right in here. Now basically I'm getting rid of the white. I'm going to be aging this. I already prepared the photograph because I wanted to, well, everything was drying, I had the time, so I'll show you what I've done. There we go. So what I did, and it's still wet. I have this. I got this at Michael's. What is it? Non-toxic, acid-free, chocolate brown, and I used a cosmetic sponge, and I went around the edge, and then I went in a little bit, and then I used the Decor Media Ultra Matte Varnish and coated it, and it was fine. I wanted to make sure I test the permanence, and I like that. So that's gonna be. There's gonna be more paint on that, but it's gonna be on there. So that's gonna sit there to dry. All right, so that's that, and now basically we're just painting everything. Let's go right to this one here, and I'm going to go with the pewter. Actually, I can't shake that. Let me mix that using the grip tools. Don't do this over your artwork. You know what's going to happen, right? And just put that on there. There we go, and put that over there to dry. And try to stay away from everything else. This is going to take about 2 coats, this one here. Make sure your brush is just damp, not wet. Otherwise it thins everything out. So I'll put that, that on there. I think I was off camera. I'll let that dry, then I'll come and do the sides, let that dry, put another layer on top. So it'll be the total of 4 applications of paint on that. Now, let's do the flower and quinacridone magenta. And do we want to make it subtle or do we want to make it intense? Let's make it subtle. Take a bit of white. Quinacridone magenta is already a really, really intense color. Like, wow. I was going to make this a brown. So I'm going to go slightly into the center because we're going to be coloring the center as well. So this will be the base layer. And then in a few other applications, I'll deepen it inside here with darker, see, like here, like darker pigment, just to make it shadowed. So I'll apply the initial layer and then I'll come back, do the sides. You could also paint it and then do the white and then come in from the outside, or paint the light and then come in the middle with the dark. And I like doing this part wet on wet. It just seems a bit softer. Also in between the petals, nice dark color where it overlaps. And make sure the dark quinacridone magenta is right in the middle. I'm going to cover this with a green, but I want to make sure that the petals come out from the center. Okay, and then I can take the pure quinacridone magenta right on the petals on the side, because you think the sun isn't touching these on the sides. You really can paint them any way you want. And just be aware that if you're doing this wet on wet, they are going to make your fingers pink. And I think I was off camera again. Oh. I remember way back when Harrison and Joe were doing the filming, and I could be told with a hand signal I was off camera. Now I'm doing it by myself. I'm doing it by myself for a while, but I am grateful when I had them helping me. There we go. Then I'll come in after that, try to lighten up the edge a little bit. And then this one here, I'll make this one really light. Nice and pink. I want to make layers Don't want to make it all the same color. Come in with a little bit of a darker magenta right in the middle. And just come in with the side, a bit of the darker magenta. And right there, I'm going to make this part dark. I can actually come in and do this after. This is where it's going to be underneath the flower. This is going to be darker, so that's that. Okay, I can take what? I can take the color that's in my brush and just neutralize the green with the magenta a little bit. Ooh, that turned purple. Oh, because I forgot the yellow. Oh, silly me. Get a little bit of yellow in there. And we're going to paint the leaves. They're dark, but that's okay. We can come back and highlight them after. These I'm going to do with multiple applications as well. I'm just going to do the tops, then I'll come in and do the sides after. So in all, this one might not be too bad. The flower will have 4 layers. The key will have 4 layers. This might be okay. The leaves, I'll be able to just do it with the 1 layer on top and the 1 layer on the side. Whoopsie. And the 3 dots, I'm going to make those the metallic. Put that over there. Just dirty brush. These are tiny. Actually, I could have put double-sided tape on the palette paper. Double-sided tape is a premium in this house right now. So, and the heart, I'm not quite sure what I want to do with the heart yet, so I'm going to leave that until the end. All right, so I'm going to let this dry. And then when I come back, I'll have everything already with another layer of paint. And then we'll move on to assembling. This will be done likely in the end. Okay, I lightened this up a little bit by taking a baby wipe with some white with a little bit of the green and coming back over to get a mottled effect. It's still not quite the color that I'm looking for. I also changed the latch to the matte metallic charcoal. I used extreme sheen and I shouldn't have. I should have used the matte metallic pewter, but it was so blue and I just wanted to, it just stood right out and I'm still not sure about it. Then I'm going to grab this old stencil. What's this called? What's this called? Jacobean Floral, I think. It's decor. It says you can tell how old it is. And I'm going to take a little cosmetic sponge and I'm going to go into some gesso, which you can't see right there. Go into some gesso, pounce it off, and I'm just going to apply it this way. Looking for a very light, misty effect. That might be a bit much. No, that's okay. And with the sponge being damp, it's not so much it dilutes the paint, it's that I guess it just makes it a little bit more even when sponging. It's not so thick. And I'm not an expert on sponging. I'm just doing what works for me. So if you have a way that you prefer doing your stenciling, then by all means do that. There you go. And I'm not even going to bother cleaning that now. It's beyond help. All right, so let's dry fit some stuff. Let me hit that with the heat gun for a sec. Kind of missed something here. I'm going to go back over right there. That's better. So let me, let's take a different part. Let's do this one. I'm just focusing a little bit on the corners now to drive the eye back into the piece. And up here, the flower is going to be here. So I'm not going to worry about that. So what I'm looking at, and when I say looking at, I'm not 100% sure where I'm going with this. I'm looking at the negative space for the flower. I'm going to take a little petal right there. And one here, and then one underneath because it's about the same height. I say the same height because now this is sticking up off the paper. That's going to go here. I'm still not sure about that. And this we still need to do work on this one. So something's not right here. Yeah, something's not right. I had this dry fit quite nicely before. I think that's supposed to be over there. Okay, and then the picture. And then the heart. So with this here, I'm still not liking that color. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put some strips of paper. I've got some beautiful in my scrap box, which I want to make sure I use up something every single time. I've got this beautiful tissue, and I think I'm going to put some of that stuff back there to make this a bit more brown. This is just too green. So I think I'm going to use up some of this, and I think, oh, this is from Patricia. And go in here. This is really pretty. Magnolia. Ooh, butterfly. I don't want to change the color too much. I want to keep it on the brown side. Whoops, oops, oops, oops. This is before I kept a box for all my scraps. I'm looking for something translucent. So I can probably utilize this stuff right in here. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take everything off and then collage it. So this is going to be one of those pieces that, you know what it is? I'm not used to using vibrant colors like that. So I'll just have to work with it. It's one of those things where I kind of know what I'm going for, but so hopefully I can get the tissue to be translucent where this bottom stuff will still show through, and I'll get some optical color mixing. That's what I'm going for. Yeah, a little bit. Not a lot. Not a lot, but that's okay. It'll just basically, it'll just disappear. And what the good thing about this too is I can stencil again over everything if I lose too much of it. Yeah, this is just, you know what it is? This is too green. It's too green. So instead of trying to color match, did I use up all the scraps? Instead of trying to color match it, I'm just going to layer tissue right on top. It's easier, honestly. And I've got the scraps that I can afford to use. Yeah, this is doing it for me. What I'm going to do with these bright colors, not sure. Not sure, not sure, not sure. Do I have any more of those? Ooh, wait a minute. Oh, look at that with postal stamps. But that's the wrong red. That was kind of pretty. That's kind of pretty. Okay, let's see what else I've got in here. She sent me so many beautiful pieces of tissue. Oh, you know what else is nice? Look at that. That's really pretty too. I think that's it for that particular pattern. Darn. Darn, darn, darn. Okay, so I'll just have to continue using this one. So I'm going to tear off the blue. Yeah, that's pretty. That will show through actually. And I'll just keep overlapping it. And then I'll stencil it again. So happy accident. I totally forgot about this tissue. And just working with it. Not going to scrap the whole thing. Not going to edit out the mistakes. It's not a mistake, it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment. Get some contrast going on over here. See, that's nice because you can see through. It just sets everything back. Yeah, see, you can see through it. I like that. Like that, like that. And I have that go over the piece. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Probably not. To each layer. Come on. Get on there. Each layer plays its part. This is one of these things, the scraps really do work out better. I'm going to put that over there so I don't keep crossing over. Nice. I'm going to set that back a little bit more. Oh, and I like this leaf. Where can I put that? The flower is going to be on top of that. That leaf is going the wrong way now, though. No. No, no, no. Let's set that butterfly back a little bit. And then we'll be okay. There we go. Boom. It's, with all the crap going on and with the loss in our family, it's kind of we're trying to get back into a rhythm of doing art, and boy, oh boy, oh boy. I like that magnolia thing. Where can I put that? Right there. So this did not turn out how I was expecting, but I think it's actually going to be much nicer. All right, now I'm going to let that dry, and I'm not sure if I want to come back and hit that with gesso. I'm not sure if I want to do that. I think with this though, I want to I'm going to put that on there. Yeah. And that's going to work out really nice. So let me get this done. So I'm sorry that this is taking so long. I don't want to edit out the videos for you guys. I want to really to show you guys how I get around this. Just going to tear that in there if that's wet. There we go. And then if your substrate's really thin, just apply more layers of tissue. I'll leave that nice and torn. Go right there. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry and come back. I'm gonna gesso this a little bit. I may gesso a little bit of that, not sure. Then I'll stencil that over it again, and then we should be good to glue everything together. So I'm gonna take some gesso in with the cosmetic sponge. Just gonna put a textured. I really only need to work the outside, but I might as well use it all up. And the paper was translucent, so some of that color showed through. So I'm just going to add some gesso. What I'm doing is I want to add contrast when that sits on top. There we go. That should be good. See, now it really sticks out. And now this, it's going to pad most of that gesso off there. Yeah, nice, nice, nice. It's just a subtle, subtle, subtle hint of pattern. It's almost like putting a layer of tissue paper that's stenciled this color. Just have to emphasize the corners a little bit more. This is actually my favorite way of stenciling instead of using a brush. Just remember that when you're using when you're doing your stenciling, that if you're using paint, it's going to get darker as it dries. And gesso seems to be a little bit more transparent. This one here, I think I have a little bit too much moisture in my sponge. There we go. Now I'm going to pick a corner. Emphasize the flowers a little bit stronger. The key is going to be, or the latch is going to be on top of this. So we're going to be all right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. And I think what I want to do while it's drying, I wanted to look at this. I've got some pieces here that are cut up and broken. No, I don't. Where are they? Okay. Oh, there's one. I was thinking about putting... Yeah, I'm going to do that. Just on the edge. Whoops. Would have been better to have something square, but I don't have anything square. Let's just see what that looks like. No, not that. Yeah, that would have been kind of nice, but it doesn't fit with the vibe. It doesn't fit with the vibe. I'm lacking the texture. I'm lacking the texture. I think that's something I'm going to ponder for a little bit. Yeah, I think I just might be overthinking it. But what I am not going to overthink is I have to edge that. So I'm going to do the same thing with this here. So you can use a stamp, you can use whatever you want. Use paint. You can use black if you want to. I like this color, chocolate brown. Yeah, nice. Nice, nice, nice. I need the edges darker, so I'm going to grab... I don't know if Vintage Photo will do it. No, this won't do it. I think I may have to go with paint. Let's try black soot. Oh, there we go. Really make that stick out. I love edging the artwork. There we go. That's doing it for me. While I'm here though, while I'm here, you dry? Yeah, I'm going to do the edge here. I'm just going to use the vintage photo. That stamp pad is almost dried out. I actually, my God, my brain's all over the place today. Rusty hinge. Rusty hinge. I'm going to put all those things in water. This is like the transparent red iron oxide version. I think I was off camera there. This is a beautiful, beautiful color. So I'm not going to do much over there. So when you put a transparent color over white, you can see that you still retain everything that was there before. Now, the reason why I didn't use the actual paints, once the paint goes down, it's permanent. With this particular, this stuff here, it's not permanent, so I can wipe it back. There we go. Put you away. This is where you can take a baby wipe, and then you can, it comes off. That. I'm going for the real old look. Then if you find that this is still busy, you can set it back even more. That's really standing out. Wow, that's really, that's really in my face. But I'm going to stick with it. Not sure I want to put the heart there now. So let's start gluing some of this stuff down before I change my mind yet again. Yeah, I'm going to do it anyways. Yep. Gesso on a kitchen cloth. Because I picked up a spot, the texture of the tissue paper. Don't you guys love it when I change my mind a million times? It was just a certain color. I knew I could get the color with the stamp pad, but I just, yeah. See, I want all that raised. It was just looking too flat. So now you have all that nice texture there. Okay, matte medium. Actually, I think I'm going to use the gel medium. Because that'll be much thicker. Now, the beauty of the way that I'm going to assemble this is that I can come in and still paint the flowers a different color if need be. So I'm going to put this down first. This could have gone with just with the matte medium. Didn't need this one to be gloss, but that's okay. This is a fixed piece. There's no positioning this. There's no positioning that, so we're going to leave that there. Just kind of smudge around the medium. That there. I like where this is going now. I don't know if I want to add those darn flowers. I do have another flower that I can use. Bam. Jesus, okay. Goodbye. I'll paint them something else. Goodbye. Oh, my tweezers are on the floor. Okay. There we go. This, I'm going to put a good amount on there. So I want this raised up. You could put a piece of cardboard underneath and then put this on top of another piece of cardboard. There we go. This could be matte medium or the heavy gel medium. Doesn't matter. I want to use the heavy gel medium because this paper is really, really textured. A lot of little bumps and crevices. And I actually should have glued that down first. I am just a mess today. There we go. When I'm a mess, like just nothing's working, that's where I'm even more determined to make something in art. And what I'm going to do, I'm not worried about the medium showing up because I'm going to go over this with the ultra matte varnish. It gives it a leather look. I want to put more under there. Just raise that up. There we go. Oh, I'm loving that. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. Loving that. Can I use these? No, that's too strong. You don't belong there. You don't belong there. Yeah, that's actually going to be okay. Let's put some... And this is from Allison, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And now that heart will work. All I did was sponge a bit of gesso on that. Yeah. And then I'm going to let this dry. Then I'm going to come in with some embellishments around here and maybe around here. Oh! Oops. Oops. My little 3 dots. I'm going to come in with some embellishments as the final accent. That'll dry clear. Now, see this here? How I've got that. That's going to be glossy. You know how I can get around that? I can take some crackle glaze or some one-step crackle and put that all there and just kind of fade it out so it'll look like a crackle, but it will be glossy. And so I'm just going to do that. It'll take a little bit longer to dry. I'm just kind of pouring it and kind of tilting it. And, oh, small brush, little brush. Make sure it goes right to the end. Because once you put this down, you don't want to muck around with it. Make sure it goes right to the very edge. So it'll look like it's just dripping. There we go. So it doesn't always have to be a physical embellishment. We can use the cracks. And why don't we do that here as well? Just going to go around. Okay. Get that inside. You don't have to do this. And then I'm going to go right over the whole thing and fade that out. So it'll look like the latch is actually cracked. This is a nice effect. I had to work fast though. This is a nice effect when it's leather. So the corners are actually gonna be consistent now. Just fade that out so you don't have a hard edge. And we'll see what that, I know it's gonna look like. But on a finished piece like this, it's a different story. You could even take, on a photograph, the actual cracking would work out quite nicely as well. So there we go. Yeah, that's really nice. Oh, that's retracting now. When it's retracting, is it's actually going back in. That's what happens with this product. It starts to contract. It's happening on this edge. So I'm going to put it back past a little bit further than what I would need. And then when it contracts back, it'll be all right. There we go. So this thing here, I'm going to give this, a day before I even come back and touch it. As for these little pieces, I'll use them for some other pieces of artwork. But yeah, this was way too bright for this. Alrighty. I'll come back in a couple days. No, not a couple days. I'll come back in a few hours and then we'll see where we are. Alrighty, well, it took a day and a half for everything to dry, but look at all that beautiful crackle. Let's see if I can hold that up for you. Get some light. There we go. Look how beautiful that is, especially on the key. There we are. So what started off with an idea, it kind of panned out into something else. And you know what? I'm more happy with this version than what I started out with. So it's just a matter of just adapting. And you know what? You kind of have to know when it's time to take a step back, when things just aren't working out for you. It's fine and dandy to say, I'm going to push through and push through and push through. But if things keep getting worse and worse and worse, you just got to take a step back. I probably should have done that, you know, when things started to go wrong. And, you know, but if I would have stopped, would I have ended up with something so pretty? It was just a matter of changing up the flower, changing up the color of the key, adding some of the crackling, and now it really looks vintage. I like that I left the heart the way it was because it kind of ties in with some of the white. In here, everything kind of ties in together. There's really nothing that stands out as an unusual color. There's colors of everything. Other than the silver star, there's nothing silver in this, but there's something of colors, so the whole thing is cohesive. So what I'd like you to do is, I want you to think of a time where you were having trouble struggling with something. And then with that in mind, I'd like you to try to create your own version of art. It's more of an experiment to see when you're thinking of something, and you don't have to think of that thing throughout the whole process, just think of it and then create a piece of art to kind of maybe celebrate what you got out of it. So if you lost somebody, you got good times. If you, let's see, if you lost your job, you've had an opportunity to think of something that you could do that's even better. If, let's say, if you're going through a new pain spell, let's say you've just developed arthritis or something, think of a different way of doing something. Let's say you had a child that decided they became an adult and it was time for them to move out. Think of now all the free time that you have to create art. So take something, you know, that wasn't so nice happening in your life and then turn it into something positive. And if you need help with that, send me a private message over in the Facebook group and I'd be happy to help you. So speaking about the Facebook group, the link is in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, because I'm hanging out over there answering questions. So in the Facebook group, I would like you to post pictures of your versions of this artwork. You know, even especially during this time of COVID-19, you know, how you can get through it. So somehow take that and turn it into a positive, although how hard it is. Think of it now, you know, you have time inside to spend on yourself. So I like to see your pictures. And then when you post your picture, put some context to it. So put some text on to, you know, what type of feedback you're looking for, whether it's help with something or just say, hey, this is what I did. What do you think? Or this is what was happening and I created this piece of art because, so that type of thing, just so we know what type of feedback to give you. And on that note, I look forward to seeing your piece. And until then, stay inspired.